do such a thing? Why? You got the idea from the Iroquois? Dear Tim and Moby, who were the Iroquois? From Lucas. Who are the Iroquois is a better question. They're still around today. The Iroquois Confederacy, also called the Six Nations, is a group of 6 American Indian nations with similar languages and cultures. The original 5 were the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca. The Tuscarora joined later. No one knows the timing for sure, but some historians believe the Confederacy first came together about 900 years ago. Well, Iroquois was actually what the French called them. They called themselves the Haudenosaunee, which means they are building a long house. A longhouse is, well, it's just that, a long house made mostly of bark that's big enough for 20 families or more. The name Haudenosaunee reflected the idea that the Iroquois nation should live together like families in a longhouse. But just like any family, the members didn't always get along. In fact, there were deep divisions until 2 leaders, Dekanawida and Hiawatha, united them with a message of peace and cooperation. According to Iroquois legend, they brought the tribes together during a total solar eclipse. The alliance of former enemies became a major power in what is now upstate New York. The Iroquois waged war against neighboring tribes in a quest for land and beaver pelts. Actually, historians consider the Iroquois government one of the earliest democracies in the world. Each nation is independent, but also an equal member of the alliance, sort of like the individual states in the U.S. All responsibilities of governing are handled by a great council of 50 sachems, or chiefs, from the different nations. In the past, the council declared war, made peace, negotiated treaties, ran the affairs of conquered tribes, and organized the observance of religious festivals. A unanimous vote of all 50 sachems was required for every decision. Well, the sachems have always been men, but they're chosen by the women of the local clans. These mothers of the nation can also remove chiefs who haven't done a good job. Long before American women won the right to vote, Iroquois women could own property, divorce their husbands, and contribute to important political decisions. And while men hunted and fished, women provided the main source of food through farming. Corn, beans, and squash were the staples of the Iroquois diet. Oh, well, we know all this because the Iroquois have a strong oral tradition. Since they didn't have a writing system, they relied on the spoken word to pass down their history. They also developed a sort of memory aid using wampum, special beads made from shells that are woven together into belts. The designs on these belts represent ideas and events. Elders who memorize these events can read the belts and retell the stories to others. It's one reason why the Iroquois of today have been able to preserve so much of their culture. Yeah, unfortunately, the arrival of Europeans in the 1600s spelled trouble for all American Indians, including the Iroquois. The Iroquois regularly fought the French and later sided with Great Britain against France in the French and Indian War, which the British won. Then, during the American Revolution, the Iroquois Confederacy began to crumble when a rift formed between the 6 nations. The Oneida and Tuscarora joined the American side, while the Mohawk, Seneca, Onondaga, and Cayuga remained loyal to the British. After a series of Mohawk-led raids against American settlements, the Americans launched a huge attack on the Iroquois in 1779. Many villages were destroyed, and the defeat spelled the end of the Confederacy as a military power. After the war, the Onondaga, Seneca, and Tuscarora stayed in New York on reservations set aside for them by the U.S. government. The Mohawk and Cayuga eventually moved to Canada, and the Oneida moved to Wisconsin. Yeah, they lost most of their land, but each nation kept its right to self-rule, and their shared culture and laws remain strong today. Modern Iroquois tribes still send representatives to the Great Council, which meets in Onondaga Territory near Syracuse, New York. It's the oldest government body in North America. I gotta hand it to you, that's a pretty impressive longhouse. A bowling alley